What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. Today, I thought I'd talk to you guys about prepping. For a while now, I've had several people come into the comments and ask me, hey, when are you going to do another prepping video? And my wife and I, we have been prepping still. We're still buying stuff from the store and things like that. Anytime we have extra money or when we can get up to the store and get some extra canned goods, extra rice, extra beans, stuff like that that stores a long time, of course, we're still stocking up on that. But so my prepping efforts have shifted here recently into more of trying to become more self-reliant is what I'm trying to say. So I wanted to show you guys around at the kinds of stuff that I'm actually working on a day-to-day basis and the preps that I'm mainly focused on right now. And I think that if any of you guys have the space to do this, and it really only takes about a city-sized backyard to do this sort of stuff, but if you have the space, you should do it. And so I wanted to show you guys what we got going on. All right, over here is our rabbitry, where we keep all of our rabbits. These are my, this is one of my breeding does right in here, Mama Cass, and this is one of her offspring, and this is our other doe, Beatrice, and we're actually thinking about culling her and bringing one of her offspring up for the new breeding doe, just because she's a little bit problematic. She growls at my wife sometimes when it's breeding time, and anytime we have to move them around, she's kind of aggressive. She can get aggressive, especially when she has kits around or after she gives birth. And so we're considering culling this one and replacing her with one of her offspring that's a little more easygoing, you know. And one other thing that I really don't like about this particular rabbit, she's the only one that does this. See if I can get her to move. She poops right there, and her poops are big enough that they won't actually go through the grid. I mean, otherwise, she's fairly good. She puts off big litters and stuff, and I really hate to get rid of her as a breeding doe, but again, she's just aggressive towards my wife, and we don't want that. Right now, we actually have 17 rabbits, and we're only actually keeping one male and two does for our breeding program. Over here's our buck, old Peter Cottontail. He's real friendly, super sweet. Will come up and kind of sniff you and let you pet on him and stuff. He doesn't care. He's a pretty good boy. Real happy with this buck. He's just real friendly and easy to get along with. He doesn't fight with anyone, you know, so when we bring the does over, he's not aggressive towards them or anything. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I've been working on more as far as prepping goes, is just trying to be able to become more self-reliant and therefore take care of my own stuff here. We got 3 males in here. Go ahead and open them up. And we call them the dirty boys because they're really a little overcrowded in here. I ain't gonna lie, but I'm out of space. This is all I had. I didn't plan on having that many kits and that much offspring, so we had to do what we had to do. I'm trying to build new cages as fast as I can, but it's obviously not fast enough. We're going to be culling these before long because we certainly don't need 3 more bucks. And so until then, we're just taking care of them. I've got another doe in here. That's one of B's offspring. And this is another one that's one of B's offspring. And we're real excited about her because she may end up being the one that replaces B, our other breeding doe, because she's real friendly. She's fairly clean. Her poops are smaller. They seem to go through the cage whenever she lays them, you know. So that's all good stuff. She's pretty friendly, and we haven't bred her yet, but we're actually planning on doing that pretty soon and seeing how she takes to the breeding, seeing how the buck likes her. I'm sure he'll like her just fine. But yeah, that's one of the things we've been doing, and for years we've been doing gardening and stuff like that. You can see our trays down here that catch the rabbit poo, and then we can move that around in the garden. That really helps out. Instead of having to try to scrape it up off the ground, it's easier to get them out of those containers there. And those are just filing cabinet drawers that we laid down there to catch the poop. He does a pretty good job. We can just rake it up right here because he tends to go in the same spot. But for years and years, all we did was we had chickens and we had a garden. But this year, we talked about not even doing a garden at all over the winter. But this year, because my wife actually got a good job opportunity to work part-time at a local nursery, she's been getting great deals and discounts, heavy discounts on plants and stuff like that. And in some cases free when they're just trying to throw them out and stuff. So we've got a bigger garden than we've had in several years. And I'll just show you around here. I'm not going to explain every plant, but this is kind of our herb garden here. There's lots of different herbs and stuff in there. My wife knows all of them. I can recognize the squash and stuff like that, and tomatoes is one of my favorites. Just being able to have fresh tomatoes, it's just one of those things. So we've got several tomatoes. This is okra back here. And what we do is we run what we brung. We basically recycle old filing cabinets and stuff like that and turn them into planting boxes. And it's worked out really well for us in the past. So yeah, what we do with these filing cabinets is obviously pull all the drawers out of them, and we fill the bottom up with basically old rotten wood that's, you know, not all moldy or anything like that, but you know, the punky type wood that you come across sometimes. We put that down in the bottom, that way we don't have to put so much dirt in there. And that's worked out really great. They call that hugel culture or something like that, but we've been doing some of that and having really good luck with that the past few years. That bigger lower one over there is actually a 5-drawer lateral filing cabinet, and we did the same thing. We pulled all the drawers out and put wood and sticks and stuff like that, old dried out limbs and stuff down in the bottom, and then filled it up with dirt. But we got a whole bunch of peppers in here. I think this one's mostly peppers, lots of different varieties. Jalapenos. It's just looking really good. We're still pretty early in the year, so it hasn't fully, you know, formed out to its full size yet, but it will. And I can't remember what my wife said this was here. She told me yesterday, but I forgot. We've got some onions. I don't know if those are chives or onions in there. And another little tomato down there. It's trying. But yeah, these have worked out really well. So if you need to set up raised beds like we do, then this could be a good cheap option for you. Really, you can find these filing cabinets for free a lot of times if you're willing to look around and if you're willing to travel to get them. And you could do other things to them. If you want them to look prettier, you could, you know, attach some wood to the outside or maybe paint them or something like that and make them look a little nicer. And I'll show you one here in a minute we did for just flowers. We keep it on the back porch. It's a smaller one. But yeah, there's a lot you can do with it, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of money. But yeah, we're going to expand over here and build another one. Now this one didn't have a bottom in it, so I'll have to come up with some sort of bottom to put in there to make it work. But yeah, they're really great for making into raised flower beds or vegetable gardens. We've got some mint here. I mean, look at the color on that stuff. It's been really wet this year, so I haven't had to water a whole lot. And that's been nice. I've got sunflowers here that are taller than I am. I'd say this one here is probably 7 feet tall. So those just volunteered. I had a little sunflower patch in here last year, and those volunteered. I've got corn, beans, and squash in this section right here. This is what we're calling the Three Sisters Garden. And we learned about this, I think, last summer or last spring. And basically what it is it's corn, squash, and beans, the kind that vine. You want the viney type beans. And the idea is the beans do something for the soil that helps with like the nitrogen level or something like that, let's say. And they also vine up on the corn stalks, and that helps to keep them from being blown over by the wind or storms or things like that. And last year we had really great success. It was the best corn we've ever grown. And we got a whole bunch of squash too. Last year we didn't have the right kind of beans, and we just planted bush beans in there, and I don't remember them doing very well. My wife's got a little experiment going on here where she's got cucumbers, squash, and I can't remember if she did watermelons or what, but basically your viney type vegetables. And the idea is she's going to try to get them to grow up on this rack so that it'll be easier for us to pick, and it'll be easier to keep them up off the ground where we can mow around this and such. Some more sunflowers right here, and over here just yesterday or the day before I put in 4 or 5 more tomato plants right here because we love tomatoes. So, and I just use a little fencing to attached to this existing fence as a tomato cage because I ran out of cages. So we'll walk over here, give you guys a super close up of a sunflower. That's a smaller one, but we've got another one there that's probably 6.5 feet tall. So just really cool. And I can feed every part of the sunflower except the seeds to my rabbits. So later in the year, I can either cut leaves off, or I can they can eat the flowers. Just again, not the you don't want to feed them the seeds is what I was seeing. Out on the property out here, it's going to be a little hard to see it probably. This is our wintertime chicken coop over here, this little building. But beyond this fence, the chain link, we have a mulberry tree. And now they're already done doing what they're going to do this year, and we didn't do a very good job. But in years past, we've gone out there and picked a ton of mulberries, and my wife will make mulberry jam and stuff like that. We've got a couple of, let me see if I can point to it right here. Right there, there are 2 pear trees in a row right there. You can only see, it looks like one biggish one, but they're about 3 or 4 years old. So we've got some pears going around here, although they don't do very well because we have cedar trees. And apparently a lot of your fruiting trees, like pears and apples and stuff, are susceptible to, I think they call it cedar rust. And we ran out of space in our raised beds, so we just started doing these big pots. And one of the things that I kind of discovered last year was you can get on like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and get these mineral buckets that are used for animals, livestock. You can get them oftentimes for really cheap, like under $5 a piece. And they're the bigger containers, like this big black one here. Now that's actually like a tree pot, but we converted it over. And again, a lot of this stuff we got for free because my wife is working at this nursery and they're just throwing this stuff out because they don't want it. More tomatoes. I think these are cherry tomatoes here. And usually every day I'll come out here and have a little graze and grab me some, you know, pick them, bring them in. But it is a lot of work taking care of a garden like this. You got to pick the weeds, you got to water them when it's not raining. You got to get out there and pick the fruit off, you know, the vegetables off, whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you can see my wife has lots of flowers mixed in here to bring in pollinators. Although we haven't seen a lot of bees this year, but still, it's really beautiful. And it does bring in other kinds of like bumblebees and other stuff like that. We got more tomatoes. And the majority of the stuff we have is like tomatoes and peppers and squash. Obviously I showed you the corn already, but she's got some asparagus that's just going wild in here, and I think she got in there and picked all the ones that were edible last night. But that's something that you can do, and it'll come back every year. And you know, it's a really cool thing if you like asparagus, although it will make your urine smell a little funny. To compare and contrast, what puts more meat on the table, or what puts more food on the table? Well, so far the rabbits put the most food on the table. We culled a rabbit probably about a month ago, I guess, was the last time we culled one. And my wife and I, now it's just her and I, but we were able to eat on that rabbit for 3 or 4 meals. I mean, so that's pretty impressive. So the rabbits, if you're just wanting to put calories and meat on the table, the rabbits is the way to go. It outproduces the garden as far as, you know, caloric intake and stuff like that. The chickens, I guess, would be number 2, at least from my personal experience. And I'll show you since we're on the way. Here's our quail setup. Now, right now, we have 5 males in this right-hand side that we're looking at, the closest side to us. This is basically like a quail condo. So we got one side over here, and the idea was I'd be able to put all my grow outs in one side and keep my breeding, you know, pairs in the other side. But when we incubated and hatched out, we ended up with a really high number of males to female ratio. So I've only ended up with 2 females and 6 males total, I believe. And a couple of them died, and I don't know what happened there. I think one of them flew up and hit its head on something and it died. But the quails, at least for right now, we haven't eaten one yet. So for right now, they're just putting eggs on the table. And I think I already got all the eggs out today, but we'll check and see if they, oh, wow, there's 2 more in there. That's impressive. And I've got them a little sandbox up there. Basically what I do is just put this feed bag down in there in the bottom, and then I put wood chips on top of it. And of course, they knock all the wood chips off. But they typically come back in here in the back to lay, and that's good news. And you end up getting delicious quail eggs. Now you will need to get some special quail scissors to cut these things open without getting the shells all in your pan or whatever, but it works out pretty well. Now it takes quite a few of those to equal 1 chicken egg. I think my wife said 5. It's a little jammed because it's been so wet. All the wood has swollen up. But yeah, this is basically the setup. We've got a food Tupperware bin that I drilled some holes in. It's called a no mess quail feeder, and it works out pretty well. And just a regular water bottle for now, although it looks like I need to clean that out on the camera. It looks a little greener than it does in real life. So but that's working out well, and the plan is we're gonna, obviously they're for meat. So what I was hoping was we would be able to eat like 1 rabbit a week and have quail 1 time a week or something like that. And obviously that's not gonna keep you alive, and that'd be the only thing you have to have, but anything you can do on your property is better than nothing. So do as much as you can in the space that you have, and you'll have to make sure, if you're in the city, you'll have to get permission probably, or make sure you're not violating any codes, because it would be tragic for you to get all set up with this stuff and then have to get rid of them. So anyway, this is all flowers and stuff over here, I believe. And again, we're just trying to draw in the pollinators. And real quick, I want to show you my favorite way to grow out rabbits. So I'm seriously considering putting all the rabbits in a similar situation. And what this is what I'm calling a rabbit tractor. So every day I move this thing around, and they're basically helping me take care of my yard. I just moved them. They were here 2 days ago. They were there yesterday, and then I moved them up here. But they're helping me big time, keeping my weeds down, and they're also fertilizing as they go. So it doesn't just pile up underneath the cage. You're moving it along, and it's fertilizing your yard as you go. There's my cat came over to help me out here. He's like, oh, you need some help with those rabbits? But yeah, that's what we've been working on more this year than ever, is becoming more self-reliant. And I love this system. Just so that you know, there's actually some 2x4 fencing material on the bottom, so they can't just dig under. Excuse me, sir, I'm talking over here. They could dig under if there was no fencing down there. So anyway, I really like this system. It keeps the rabbits cleaner, keeps them healthier. It gives them something to do during the day. Chewing on the grass clippings and keeping it all knocked down. And sometimes they'll get to going in a little rabbit circle and start running around in circles. Well, I've got 2 of these right now. And you can see I just threw a panel of wood and a piece of metal up there, kind of makeshift, obviously. But these didn't start out as rabbit tractors. They were, when we bought our land, the previous owners had a whole bunch of rabbit stuff around, old rabbit infrastructure that needed repairs and stuff. So we patched up as many of them as we could, and we put them to use. I've got the other one over there. It's basically the same setup. It's just I have a tarp on it, so you can't really see them as well, but there are 4 more of them in there. So we're up to our eyeballs in rabbit meat right now. And there's getting ready to be a big culling, maybe this next weekend. And we're definitely going to start putting some in the freezer. And we're going to consider whether or not we're going to get rid of Mama Cass or give her 1 or 2 more tries before we do. This is my chicken setup. It's real simple. It's an old dog pen that I actually got this given to me by my neighbor, And it's just an old dog pen that has chicken wire up to the bottom, I'd say 3.5, 4 feet. So they can't, nothing can get in through the side there. And the chain link gives that something nice to tie to. And of course you can see I have a cheapo blue tarp up there, and I've got them some perches inside of there. They keep that knocked down really well. And I've got a mixture, that white bird and the gray bird there, and the other gray bird, wherever that one is over there, are all pure Americana. The reddish brownish birds there are Americana Rhode Island Red mix. And my rooster, Harry is his name because he's got hairy feet. Let's see if they'll show up. He's got feathers on his feet, so we named him Harry. But anyway, he is Australorp and Rhode Island Red. So our hens are getting pretty old, and we're getting to that point now where we're just not getting nearly as much egg production as we were when we first got them. And they love to come out here in this little area that's fenced off separate from my garden area, because if you don't keep them separated from your garden, they will get in there and pluck your tomatoes and, mess with your squash and stuff like that. But you can see how green and lush this grass is back here. It's the greenest grass on my whole property. And it's because I've had these chickens. I've had these chickens over here for over a year. And they go around spreading their fertilizer and eating the weeds and stuff like that. And again, I need to mow it because they're not keeping it knocked down enough. Or I need to move the rabbits back here. But the point is that it's really green and really good compared to that grass that's just outside of the fence. That's what this backyard used to look like until I started putting chickens in here. Now they will scratch and they will dig holes, and they'll do it in the least opportune place you can find. But it's well worth it because, when they're fairly young, it's pretty common to get at least 5 eggs per bird per week. And we did have more, but we've lost a couple along the way for different reasons. And anyway, chickens are a great thing. It's like the gateway animal to get you into backyard livestock. Get some chickens and you'll never regret it. They're a lot of fun. Just watching them do their antics and stuff. A lot of fun to have them, and it puts food on the table. Up there, I've just got some old crates, like milk crates that I cut out the sides of, and that's where they get up for their nesting and stuff like that to lay their eggs. And just got an old dog feeder here that converted over to a chicken feeder. And you got to give them water every day. But look how they keep that knocked down in there. I mean, it's just incredible. Don't ever have to mow or weed eat in there. So, guys, that's what I've been up to. And it keeps me pretty busy. Moving rabbits around, picking weeds, harvesting fresh vegetables every day. Stuff like that. You got to stay on top of it. I made this really simple gate here and fence out of a couple of pallets. A buddy of mine's getting me these 10-foot long pallets, and I'm trying to think of everything I can do to use them up and use them wisely around my property, because I don't want to spend a lot of money. Trying to save that money for other preps, like ammunition and fuel for all your vehicles, stuff like that. But I just pulled these canna bulbs out here, and we put another decorative plant in here yesterday. These things are great, but they'll take over. Here's an example. That whole patch right there started out with like 2 or 3 canna bulbs, and it's just exploded over here and making it difficult for me to get my door open on my shop building and stuff like that. So I've been cleaning that out and getting it better, more manageable. Here's another project that I'm trying to decide on. It's one of those old cages from the property that I don't know if I ought to fix it up or just start over. Probably just start over. It's pretty rotted. But anyway, guys, that's what I'm up to. And that's what I'm doing on my preps. I highly suggest you do the same because one of these days that store ain't going to be there anymore. Or you may not have the money to go buy the food, even if it is on the shelf. You may not have the money for it. So highly advise you getting into some backyard livestock and stuff like that while you can. get your infrastructure set up now. And best part of all about having it all done now ahead of time is you'll have experience in raising them. You'll know how much food you need, what it's going to take, and you'll be able to look around your property and your area and go, okay, I can grow sunflowers, for example, which I can feed to the rabbits. I can feed the seeds to the chickens. You know, there's other things, other garden scraps that are created that makes it almost like a cycle, you know, where you're growing the food out in your garden to feed your animals, also to feed yourself. So highly advise you guys getting into some of that stuff right now while you can. And until then, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Keep prepping. We'll see you next time.